Hello. Sorry for
Hello.
the technical delays. If you're here waiting for me, or you were here waiting for me an hour ago, I'm sorry. I screwed up on my time with Kim. She's an hour behind me. I always try to post everything in Eastern Standard. So, needless to say, Kim, I'm committing to you now. Dercum's
Okay.
Diaries is at noon PST, third Tuesday of every month. And
No, second Tuesday of every month.
second Tuesday of every month.
And sometimes not. We'll just announce it.
Well, see, I screwed myself off. Last month was Dercum's Disease Awareness Day. So we had to do it on the day. So we did it early.
Yes.
And I am coming to you from Hurricane Lake Didsbury, where we've had gale force winds, a couple 100 millimeters of rain today. And my plants are looking super depressed. I didn't even try with umbrellas when the hail came last night. I give up. It's God's will at this point. So today is an interesting, but I think a very important Dercum's Diary. I'm all about shaking it up and activity. And, I kind of have my key area of focus, but even in my own sessions, regardless of why you're using a vibration plate, the food and what you put in your pie hole is such a critical piece, whether you're trying to build something and you need nutrients to support that activity, whether you're trying to lose weight. It's not about starving yourself. The fittest and the cuttest I have ever been in my life was a fitness show where I had to fit into these spandex pants that were about this big. And I never ate more food in a 6-week period than when my good girl, Kim Gramlich, who is a member of this page, kicked my ass for 3 weeks. So I was good with the activity, but I like burgers. I have kids. We do Slurpees. There's living, but sometimes I've learned, especially as I've gotten older, we need to understand and have a relationship with what goes in that mouth. And for those of you like Kim dealing with chronic conditions, it's a process over a lifetime. It's something that might work today and may need to evolve as your symptoms and your condition evolves. It may need to change based on the activities that you've embraced or drop doing. So sometimes there's a big relationship between our activities and what we put in our mouth. But when you're dealing with chronic conditions, the food piece will help with the physical changes. But for many of you, it's the pain, it's the mental struggles. It's there's reasons that food can very much be a medicine. I know that sounds like a crazy idea, but thousands and thousands of years ago, we didn't have vibration machines, we didn't have gyms. We used to run and poop in the forest, and we would collect our food from we had this relationship. If you've been with me a long time, I always talk about a functional squat, and nobody poops in the forest anymore. We sit on this toilet and these chairs, and just that one thing has changed and evolved how man, kneels down on the floor. Our food system has been completely changed. Within our lifetime, it seems like forever, but a lot has happened with the industrial world in the last 100 years. Our food is very commercially grown. Most of us don't even know how to bake bread or cook certain types of fish. I suck at cooking fish. Kim, I love watching for so many reasons, but I gotta say my favorite Kim videos are just when you're doing, this is what I had for dinner, and this is how I did it. And there's things on your plate that are now on my plate that I never would have even entertained. Avocado being a big one. If I don't have at least 4 or 5 avocados a week now, I'm grumpy. Whereas before, oh, it was this thing that was too ripe or unripe. So this is one very small piece of what Kim's going to expand upon today. There's two kind of key things that she's going to hone in on that we've advertised in the live. One being her BioDiet. There's lots of different options out there, and her way is not necessarily the best way, but it is the best way for her. So, we always talk about experimenting and trying new things. This is just another option we want to explore a little bit more in depth. Some of you probably are using this or have considered using this. So we're just going to give you experience is the best kind of thing. You know, nobody wants to be the guinea pig. And then the other thing she's going to talk about, you know, many of you are also using as well, is a CB MCT oil elixir, one of her wizardry potions that helps her for lots of different reasons. But I know many of you currently now do use these types of products for pain. Kim also has some deals on some of these things that she supports. So towards the end, when I let her take over on my rambling, we're going to tell you where to find her. Because usually I find when I do food things or what goes in your mouth things, there's a lot of questions after the fact because you want to go back and check that source. And Dr. So-and-so said this, and then this group said that. We're not here to say this is the definitive only way. We just want to have a discussion about her way and why it's working for her. So on that note, drum roll, please. I gave her a heart attack this morning because I'm like, okay, you're good like at 11. I ain't going to be ready at 11. You're crazy. So sorry for the time change once again. We have Kim with coffee, digested and shook at this point. So let's get into the rest of it and what makes you sparkle so brightly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kim from Dercum's Disease and Other Fat Disorders Canada. A lot of you will know me, but most, you know, won't. But I wanted to really just show you that I found a way through a lot of my misery and my poor quality of life and my poor health. Now, there's so much to it. Diet is so controversial, everything like that. But first off, I just want to tell everybody that I am not paid one dime. I am not paid in any way to brag up these next two things I'm going to talk about. All I want to do is tell you that these two people, or these three people altogether, are my heroes. They're on my hero list, and I have a very short list of heroes, and I like to brag up my heroes. And Debbie Pelche, first of all, she's always there helping me get the word out, helping me educate. I thank you, Debbie. So thank you for having me here today. I wanted to start first off with my first thing. I came across this book called BioDiet through the company Intentionally Bare Keto. I looked up a keto group. I knew I was going to start it. I just bought my book. This is the book. You look for the one with the egg. Dr. David G. Harper and Dale Drury are the co-authors. They're Canadian authors, which I always like to give a push for our Canadians, as everybody knows. But Dr. G. Harper, he is a kinesiologist professor. He's a breast cancer researcher. He is very well known on the ketogenic circuit these days. He's having lots of talks. He's holding lots of interviews with the main people involved in this industry. Recently, he was in Keto Salt Lake City. He's like all over the place, and it's really a pleasure and an honor to introduce him and his book. He's changing lives. He changed my life. He saved my life by what goes in my mouth. So I want to share it with you all. So this is his book called BioDiet. His website is biodiet.org, and he lets you read the first chapter or the introduction for free and lets you decide if you want to purchase the book. It's very reasonably cost. It's about 20 bucks, I think, and you can get the audio version, which I think I'll get it anyway, just so I can just refresh all my knowledge, sit there and listen to it. But it's sold at Chapters and Indigo and then Barnes and Noble, I think, in the US. But this is an amazing guide to get yourself into ketosis slowly versus, oh, I'm jumping off the cliff like Kim does all the time in her experiments. And if you do get this book, please let me know, and let me know anytime once you're finished reading it. I'm here for you. Anything you want to talk about, because this is how all I know is the science. And I'm not into a lot of the keto dirty stuff because I went on keto for my health. I needed to bring my blood pressure down, my cholesterol. I had like really bad hypertension, anxiety attacks. I gained so much weight. I was like up to 190 pounds, and I'm like 5 foot nothing. I'm probably 4'11. But that's a lot of weight for me as a person to carry around and manage. And with all the craziness of trying to get diagnosed for over 5 years, then I finally knew what I had. I knew I had to try to remove some of the obesity. So I went searching for ketogenic, and I found this interview with Dr. Harper on Lita's site called Intentionally Bare Keto. And that's when I came across her. So we kind of met, the both of us, all of us met through me searching for a keto group so that I could just follow the proper information. So this is when this come into play. This is MCT. It's intentionally bare MCT oil, but it's pure C8, which matters because C10 and C12, I learned, can be a little bit inflammatory for some people. So pure C8 MCT oil is important. But I'll tell you why this worked. Actually, this is why I'll never be without this. It has to do with one of my Dercum's disease symptoms. So we'll get into that in a little bit for the health benefits. But for what happened with me, my why was looking for health, better health, it was my goal to get off my blood pressure pills, really, at the end of the day, and lose weight and feel better about myself. So what happened was, when you go on a ketogenic diet, you reduce your inflammation, which equals reducing pain. So right there, it instantly, like, it was bringing my blood pressure down. My pain was getting a little bit less. You know, I was in such a state that I really needed help, but I kept on. I read the book. And then when I moved to Vancouver Island, I had contacted Dr. Harper. This story's on my website, fatdisorderscanada.com. I'm quite thrilled to have Dr. Harper involved in my health journey, but he's one of my hugest heroes that really changed my life. He's reduced my pain by changing my diet. He's improved my blood work by changing my diet. And now I get to eat all the things I love. And one of them is fat. Saturated fat does not hurt your heart, people. It's all proven now. There's lots of studies, and we'll try to get you some information linked at the bottom of this or in the portions of where she stores the information on my YouTube, okay? Because the science is real. Dr. Harper is all about the science and nothing but the science. And I appreciate all the information that he's sharing out there on YouTube with all these people for free. His book is very reasonable, and it can change your life too. So again, biodiet.org or intentionallybare.com. I buy my products on Amazon for my MCT oil. And she also has a ton of products for keto, and she's all about natural, healthy living. None of this garbage products. She has very good quality products. And she has like electrolyte drinks, and she even has a skincare line now made with MCT oil. And it's incredible, all these things. I've tried many of her products, but I am never without my MCT oil or her MCT powder for coffee when I travel. But it's been a fairly long journey. I've been on it almost 3 years. August 19 will be my 3 years on the BioDiet. And what happened for me was, it was quite a struggle to reduce my waist, but I've lost 6.5 inches off my waist, and I've lost 40 pounds. So for a person that's 4'11", that's like a mountain full, bucket load. And it allows me now to move my lymph more and vibe more, fitness on my vibration plate. I walk so much more now without pain until I get home, because no matter what I do, after I've been on my feet most of the day, which is normal for me, because exercise is a part of my journey as well, but it wasn't in the beginning. We have to take it in baby steps. But every day I try to move my lymph as much as I can, and I think it makes a difference. I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to know all the things about all these things I'm doing, but I can give you the resources where I got my information from. Just get in touch with me. Again, if you guys want to join my website, then you can contact me. You can email me there or anything. It's fatdisorderscanada.com. But saying all that, what goes in my mouth is really what I want to get out. And like Debbie said, I do TikTok, and it's one of my favorite things now because I can showcase how I live every day. I use distraction therapies. I use a ketogenic diet. I use vibration therapy. But what goes in this mouth is how I feel every day, dictates it. So some of the foods on keto are so satisfying. Like, who wouldn't want a steak? Like, at the end of the day, what it really almost comes down to is meat and veg and a few berries. And yeah, I make fat bombs, and that's how I can't get my extra off, because I am such an addict of sweet things. But I'm trying to control that right now. I'm having a little bit of backsliding and a few pounds here and there, and I'm preparing for my next surgery. They're going to take 2 of my problematic lipomas off, and I need to be in the best condition I can be in for all my blood works and things like that, because I want to recover easily. So your diet matters. That's what I'm trying to get out, is if you eat sugar, it's like, it just brings on things. And in his book, he talks about an axis of illness. That's one of the most incredible things. Like his talk about the axis of illness is really good. And I hope everybody goes to search him out. I can leave some links, as I said, but now it's time for you all to give me questions and answers, because really, I love food. I love to cook. I do have a husband who's my sous chef too. Because see, doesn't happen quick. Hi.
So
Go ahead,
I
Deb.
have a question.
Okay.
And I've known you for quite some time. I kind of wanted to maybe reference a bit of a time frame. Like you started BioDiet, dabbling in it is different than diving into it, if you know what I mean. So when did you start hardcore? What type of time frame are we looking at? Because I know I've known you, like I say, the 4 or 5 year range, and what I physically have seen in your progression, not just size, but for me, it's, we live in this world of Zoom, and sometimes we get a chance to look at people a little differently because they don't see us looking at them, if you know what I mean. But it's this, you were very, when we first started talking, you were somewhat translucent, maybe the skin tone. To me, the nutritional uptake wasn't there. And one of the things that Kim talks about a lot of times in her discussions, that there's, you might be eating all the right things, but it's also understanding what your body might be better at absorbing or needs at certain stages of this. And that's where I think, you've gone through a lot of change, but there was also experimentation along the way too. Oh my goodness. So stop beating yourself up about the sweets and the few pounds. We do all do it. I know nice, personally, right? For me, food is the hardest piece because I do love it. Bread, I could live on sourdough and butter, I swear. But in moderation, it's I notice now that the cleaner you eat, the cleaner you get any facets of your life, those crashes tend to be harder too, and the crash isn't always necessarily a sign of a failure. Just like I always say, pus in a sore is not the sickness itself. It's our body's way of, expelling what we've done to it. And when we eat bad foods, there's toxins in there. There's preservatives, there's chemicals, it's not always the wrong type of food. Sometimes it's just how it's packaged or preserved or prepared. So, there's, getting the right food. Oh, are you muted, Kim?
Oh, am I?
Oh, sorry. Oh. Now you are. Now you're good.
Okay.
But, I do encourage you to follow. I'm not a big TikTok fan. There's enough places for people to message me. I watch, but I don't have my own thing that I do like Kim, but sometimes it's just nice seeing the visuals of her preparing her meals, taking the information that has become a lifestyle from these tools and seeing it live. Any recipe that I always enjoy, I find when I'm looking online, I always like the ones with the videos.
Me too.
And I know I'm doing it right, especially when it's things where like bread. There's a bread recipe me and the kids have been playing with, and if I hadn't seen how she folded it on camera, we'd have starved that week. So and your little tips like your chicken skins, and there's different things that locally you sometimes, I think we're supposed to eat something, we're supposed to eat what grows within 50 kilometers of us, as far as, and I'm not saying we can get everything we like within that radius, but take a look at your local farmers. There's always a way to support, perhaps you're paying a little bit more in the short term, but I assure you, when it comes to your health, you're going to be paying, I used to be a banker, so there's what I call a front end and a back end load fee. So you might be paying a little bit more on the front end to obtain better quality, better regularity. We're in a time when you want to make sure you have access to food. So obtaining good local sources is a good way to do that. The back end fee is you paying healthcare costs, medication costs, when you're not giving your body the thing that it needs. And I think many of you have experience with that. And because sometimes we absorb so many of these costs for our care out of pocket, it's hard to justify paying a little bit more for that avocado because it's a little better in quality than, perhaps the cheaper option. But, it is an investment in your health. So
yeah, and the cost to do a ketogenic diet, like, just so everybody knows, it can be done on any budget. My sister back east, I actually taught her how to do BioDiet. I won't talk to anybody until they get the book, because I only know what's in the book to be reliable for me. Yeah. That's my Bible. I absolutely use my book every day. You can see I'm just like got all the pages all torn around, and it's a Bible. And he actually, it's kind of a step-by-step guide for doctors to teach their patients too. Like, I'm going to start buying the book and taking it to my care providers. I think that if everybody understood, because the doctors still don't want you on a ketogenic diet. It is getting better, like Debbie said. It is starting to be more mainstream now, but the problem is all those keto products at Costco, most of them are garbage. You need to eat clean. You need to eat one ingredient foods, and you need to just not eat sugar or things that turn into sugar. Carbs equals sugar, which equals pain. It's a really good analogy, because it's like, do you want to hurt? Do you not want to hurt? Like, it's a choice of what we put in our mouths. And that's what I had to learn myself, and that I still fail at all the time. Like, I'll cheat and go and have fish and chips on my birthday. You got to live. I'm going to have birthday cake, or I'm going to have chocolate, but now I make my own keto chocolate. Like, see, those are the things. I learned to cook low fat in the day, and you couldn't put any recipe past me that I couldn't make low fat. Well, I've had to learn how to cook all over again. And let me tell you, I've made some really terrible things wrong, but there's me, my experimentation. And sooner or later, we find a way to eat something that we actually like, right? But meat and veg is pretty much all you need. To get a meat, eat the fat on it, and then just pick a veg. Most of them are green on keto, but it doesn't have to be like this hard straight line. Even reducing your carbohydrate intake will improve your health. And the weight loss is just the side effect.
If I go back to, for those of you that might be joining after the fact, I was rambling at the beginning of the session of, 3,000 years ago, we lived in the forest and we pooped in the forest. There weren't bakeries. There weren't apple orchards. Do you know that in British Columbia, the area that Kim is in, fruit trees are not native to the area? They were brought in the 50s by the European settlers. So a lot of the things that maybe within our lifetime we've come to believe is I'm not saying it's not tasty or got no nutritional value, but the shift of having fruits over vegetables, and fruits are expensive, certainly at a season too. We always joke out here in Alberta in winter, you're lucky if you can get apple, oranges, and bananas. And if you want grapes or something fancier, you may as well go for a prime rib these days. It's cheaper. So,
but fruit is actually just sugar. So we have to limit that. And berries, like in the, when the caveman foraged for berries.
Yeah, exactly. The caveman reference. If you back to 3,000 years ago, pooping in the forest, it was leafy greens.
Yeah.
And it was what was running around with 4 legs or swimming in the river. So
yeah, and just so everybody knows, you don't have to have carbohydrates to survive and live. You actually don't. You need fat and protein to survive. You need it for your brain and, and for your body, but like for your, I don't know how to describe the differences, but eating animal products is a problem for some people. And I mean, no offense to anyone who's a vegetarian, a pescatarian, anything like that. But you won't get nutrition any better than beef. I've learned about more what nutrients and things are the best to eat. And let me tell you, the marketing people, the grocery stores have figured us out. The secret is out. You know what? Fatty meat is more expensive than lean most of the time.
Yeah.
So they've figured us out. Fatty meats are very good for you. The saturated fat is going to help your heart, not hurt it. It's the sugar and the bread and the carbs that are giving you heart disease. That is just the truth. Scientific facts now.
For any of you that have had the good fortune to attend the FDRS conference in the US, which went this year but was stalled for a couple, I remember how blown away I was in Baltimore. I'm getting off the plane and I'm just trying to get machines set up and get ready for the anticipated crowd of people that needed to shake after getting off the plane. And I've never seen such an elaborately simple yet beautiful spread for breakfast. And it was all very, Dr. Herbst is a big keto fan. Also recognizes it doesn't work for everybody, but is a big advocate of it. And it was, it was proteins. There were some carbs, but sometimes, like I say with Kim's videos, just seeing it and having that we're visual learners. We learn 80 to 90% of what we get. This is our most relied upon sense. So, sometimes that visual really helps you solidify it in the book. And in my experience, makes it feel a little less scary and a little less complicated if you've got that visual guide. And, Kim is absolutely right. There is a recognition in the commercial world because it's all about the big old dollar. But it is also, like many natural and good things, we need to be more curious. There was a big announcement yesterday here in Canada that they will be pushing very hard to put a warning label on beef. I don't know if you've heard this. I'm probably getting off on tangent here. Because of the amount of saturated fat. We will be the only country in the world putting a food warning label on the most nutritious form of protein out there. So, there's something going on here at play, but, get to know your local farmers, quit being so reliant on, the local shop around the corner. When you diversify, your self-care, you also need to diversify the sources of where you obtain these types of products. Because I think, sort of once if you take the time to get through this book, and even just looking back through some of old Kim's discussions and some of her past chats, you can see the difference that it's making. And this is, so many of you in this community are dealing with a non-diagnosed condition. You're so educated in your conditions and your symptoms, and many of you are very confident, not all, but many of you are very confident in taking control and going into that doctor. But when it comes to our food, we still bow down and worship to a system that has proven to be very ineffective. There isn't one cookie cutter solution for everybody, and we're not suggesting that this is either, but it's certainly, even aside from Kim, I see BioDiet popping up in other conversations that I'm privy to, or other conversations that trail on. And, it's just, I think probably packaged, and he has simplified it to a point where it's
Yeah.
possible. Whereas sometimes, some of these keto books that I've seen are I'm not a reader. I do enough between scientific study that I have done at the end of the day. And, I like to make a good impression fast. I'm a busy person, and, something like Kim's Little Bible, you're not spending a huge fortune on a course. You're not having to sit online and invest time. You can invest at your own leisure. And I'm a little old school. I like a piece of paper that I can write some notes on as I'm going through, or little sticky
Yeah,
notes.
I like the physical book. I like to have the book, but
Exactly.
it doesn't mean you have to have that way. Lots of people are on digitally now. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And you can have the book read to you now. Like,
You
I'm
got
getting that.
it's it's less cumbersome than perhaps,
Yeah.
there's lots of different examples of keto out there, but I think sometimes some of these authors and some of the doctors are more successful because they know how to deliver it at a level that not only
Yes.
gain it and understand it, but we
Yeah.
can, put it into work, and it's not, doesn't seem so complicated that we just walk away
Well,
from.
he tells you how to do it step by step, but also, even if you don't buy his book, I'm not here to push the book and the oil for sales. That I'm just here to brag up my heroes that changed my way through life, right? So I need to thank them and say thank you for that. That's how I feel. But you know what? He gives, like, there's grocery lists. It tells you what foods you can eat, how
Simply.
you go through the process, how to you don't get keto flu. If you use his step-by-step guide, first steps are like getting that crap out of your house. So you don't have the crap around, it won't entice you. But there's just little steps, and the information is all scientifically formulated. His diet is different in the way I'd like to show that he gives you every single food, what to eat, how much of it to eat in like 100 grams. You can have 100 grams of this, or you can have a quarter cup of this. And
Yeah.
no, you can't eat nuts and seeds till then. Like, another thing I really want to stress to everybody is, like, never mind if it's BioDiet, if it's someone else's diet, it's a ketogenic lifestyle that I'm talking about in general. And bad oils, vegetable and seed oils are like death of your body, period, in my opinion. And I've learned so much about the vegetable oil problem. Like, he even tells you what oils are okay to eat, and like just things to recommend for everything. He's got so much free information on his website at biodiet.org. He really does. And he's a very
A
giving,
really good example to
caring
point out.
man.
Labeling is becoming, you can't rely on the label, folks. You
Labeling.
need to understand there's probably about 30 different names for the same thing in many
Yes.
products. So, part of it is a lifestyle. The book is simply a really good tool to simplify the first steps towards this process.
Yeah. And
And
he
it is,
teaches you how to determine what's in a label. Like,
yeah.
he does it all. Like, it's so
You want to
incredible to
learn those
see,
things from the people creating the labels. Just saying.
right?
So,
I
speaking of
hate the
oils,
labeling.
probably a perfect time to switch gears a little bit and talk about your elixir.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
and
Oh, why it does it for me.
we're going to talk about
Yeah.
some benefits specifically. Let's maybe start with those. And
Okay.
you touched briefly on the different types, the C8 versus the 10 or the 12.
Yes.
Would you mind expanding just a little bit? Because we're kind of in a very interesting time, certainly in Canada, for those of you that are in the US, certain areas, but Canada, many of these products are now legally accessible in many forms. But it's like going into a restaurant with a 15-page menu. If you don't know
Yeah.
what you're looking for, you may not get what you think you are, just like vegetable oil. But if just like vibration machines, if you have a bad experience, sometimes it shies you away from pursuing it further. So, but before, I love that people dive in and they want to explore and try things, but you want to make sure you're doing it with some information when you're going in or you're starting to look at this, because there's so much information out there that can be exhausting in itself.
He covers that in the book too, the MCT, because he actually, actually brings you into taking MCT for a while to boost your ketone level to when you're first going into ketosis or whatever. But
So that would
you
be,
do not have to have MCT oil, just to say. I would never tell anybody what they must take and what they wouldn't
but for
take.
those exploring it is more what I'm
Yeah.
referring to. If you're going to look
Yeah.
into this
And
subject, know that just like vegetable oils, there are differences within
grades
what
and
you're
things.
looking
Yeah.
for a symptom thing versus maybe a night out on the town. And I'll leave
Well,
it
the
at
thing with the MCT oil for me is I only discovered this by accident, but I call it my magic elixir. And the whole story is on my website at fatdisorderscanada.com if you want to read it. And my reason for taking it is I actually discovered it by accident that I have improved symptoms from taking 1 to 2 tablespoons of this pure C8 MCT oil in the morning in my coffee. I have a fatty coffee. I'm one of those people that, yeah, I do. I have MCT oil, ghee, and heavy whipping cream in my coffee, all frothed up. So I have 2 cups of that every single morning while I sit on my vibe. And what we discovered was, actually my husband did, he says to me one day, "Oh my God, you're not having all those flame on things." Well, we call them flushing. Most people assume that I'm having menopausal flashes, but I'm actually not. I'm postmenopausal, like way past. I'm in the prepubertal stage, actually. It's bizarre, but I had my hormones tested, and these hot flushing things are to do with my Dercum's disease. So they're like, I don't actually sweat easily. That's just an issue for me. And I actually, when these things come on, it kind of creeps in through my feet and it works its way. If it works its way all up to my chest, I'm on fire. My actual skin is on fire, and I have to like get away from my body because it's so uncomfortable and so burning hot because I don't sweat. It just burns. So I have all kinds of ice packs and all kinds of fans and things like that to remedy that. But one day he says, "Yeah, I don't notice you're having a lot of those things anymore. Like what's going on?" I'm like, "Oh my God, you're right." So we started experimenting from then. So what happened was Dr. Harper had me come off because, see, Dr. Harper coached me. We connected in an advocacy situation. He's not someone who just coaches everybody. He's a breast cancer researcher. So I connected with him and we talked, and he helped me figure this out, because the last time I was on keto, following just all the gurus online, I ended up in emergency twice because I didn't know what I was doing and didn't have the right information. I didn't have the science. So that's why we met and everything. But oh my goodness, it's just like we went off the MCT. They came flooding in heavily within the week. Like a week and a half, I was like full blown. Oh, every time I moved, any overexertion brings them on. When I eat, like just weird moments. If I concentrate too hard on something, like, we have a bit of cognitive issues, these Dercum's people. And like if I try to concentrate, I would just start having one, right? Like stress brings them on. Like it's just all these weird things, any overexertion. So I just thought, okay, I'm going back on it. And he was like, oh, a little reluctant, but he's like, no, go on. You need to do what's best for you. He's terrific, kind of knowing that, everybody's different. So I went back on the oil, and within about a week, oh, whoa, it's happening again. So we did this like 4 times now, because I've actually just gone off it just because I ran out of it sometimes too, right? And don't order in time, because she sells it on Amazon in Canada, and she sells it in her Amazon.com in the US, and she sells it also at intentionallybear.com. So I have this special link that she's offered to me in my website at fatdisorderscanada.com, and she's offered us a special discount, and I believe it may just be in Canada, okay? So the link is in my website for a graduated discount just for people like us for a first time purchase. If you're wanting to try it, you go into my website at fatdisorderscanada.com and check out my magic elixir story. And in there, you'll find the link to a discount if you want to try this magic elixir that works for me. Because I know so many people with Dercums have this flushing issue that just drives us crazy. And we have complex conditions. So another thing that it gives me, energy. Like I'm like this little ever ready bunny in the morning. Like by the time I'm done my vibing, it's like, whoo, okay. Am I walking? Am I cooking? Am I sewing? Like it's just like, see, I've had just about finished all my coffee. I'm like getting ready to go, right? So normally without that, I'm in the chair and I'm aching and whining and so the difference is to having this MCT oil and not having it, it outweighs. I don't care what anybody says about it. I'm never going to be without it because it helps me get through my day, helps me not have so much flushing from the stupid Dercums that we deal with. It's a bad symptom, right?
It's interesting. I'd be curious just for the general population. I'm 50 this year and I don't get them often, but I do get the odd flush. And even though I'm not dealing with Dercum's disease, if you think about it being a hormonal thing, of course, anything from emotion to exertion to, I think sometimes with these conditions, it's just that they're heightened because of the sensitivities that you're dealing with, because of the sensitivity of your systems. And many of you, because of years of experimentation, really by no fault of your own, have over time caused some damage and caused some issues. So you just need to experiment responsibly. I see Fran is saying that MCT oil has helped her similarly.
I was so excited to see
so there's lots of different products. We're kind of limited to a degree in Canada as far as variety of things that we can have access to. So it's good to be able to find a local source here within Canada, because sometimes getting stuff across the border is a bit of a nightmare. But in the US,
she has a site in both US and
perfect.
Canada and on her website. But just a word of caution, like there's MCT oil products everywhere. Yeah. But the danger in that, like you said, was the ingredients in them. I don't care where you buy it if you're gonna use it and try it, but most most oils out there in the stores, in the retail area, like physical stores, you're gonna, like Costco, you're gonna find like Truvia or something, and I think it's called but it's 70% like there's C10, C12, and C8, I think, in it, or it's just C10 or C12. Please read the label. Please look for C8, as close or as large of a percentage of C8 if you're going to use it in the way I use it, because then at least the experiment with you will be closer to what I did too, right? Because if you don't have the same product, I don't know if you can have the same experiment. I can't say anything other than what happened in my own experiments with this particular product. And again, remember everybody, if you joined us late, I do not have anything to disclose. I am not paid by either one of these people. These are just things that work for me.
This is passion speaking loud and clearly.
Very passionate about my food.
And the C10, 12, 8, just look at vitamins. How many different types of B vitamins are there? And they do have in some respects aligned benefits, but there are very different purposes within some of them. So if you're going to put something in your mouth, make sure you understand what it is fully. That's the lesson here today. Fran is also saying, yes, true, MCT has oil has evolved. And science has evolved, and I come more from the world of tenure and experience, because science just will never explore everything at the rapid of the same pace of questions I have. But I do find anything that falls into the natural realm is getting less and less attention. So finding groups, finding that personal, even if all the science in the world, every day I am tested. I can show you 50,000 vibration machine studies on one topic, And then there's still going to be, someone outside the box, unbeknownst to me, something else going on. Or I had a client yesterday that, was freaking out because I'm not supposed to use a vibration machine if I have kidney stones. I'm like, well, did you know you have kidney stones? No. Well, what the heck? So sometimes you don't know something till you know something. And, as you go through the process of eating cleaner, becoming more active, that there's a bigger umbrella I always like to highlight too, which is detoxification. So if you are, sometimes feeling symptoms as you're getting into some of these products, sometimes that's your body's way of just getting rid of some of the junk in the trunk. I always recommend, and I think Kim is on the same page, but if you're looking at trying anything, give it a month, 4 weeks. If you try something for a day or two, especially something like the C8 oil, it's taken you years, even decades for some of you to get to the situation that you're in. Trying something for a night or two would be awesome if it offered you relief. But I think for the most, you got to give it a good go and give it an opportunity to interact and let your body get used to this new stimulant and give it an honest chance. Even with the vibration machines or a gun, you may have a benefit within one session, but to give it a really good shot, you want to give it 3 to 4 weeks to see how it's having an effect. And you're all very good at doing your journals and keeping track of having that relationship with your body. And I think, that above all is the harder part. So if you're good at tracking, if you're good at, making notes, this is just an evolution of that.
I didn't track for the first 2 years.
I did have to.
Just carbs, just my carbs. I actually wrote down everything that went into my mouth for a few months, at least.
You're a little muffled.
Oh, I'm muffled. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay, so I actually didn't track any macros until about 2 years in. And it was just to do some challenges in Lita's Intentionally Bare Keto group. And she does so much for her community. She's incredible. She's a Canadian too.
Cool.
So she lives in BC and we're going to meet up one day. But she has so much information, helpful, good information. And see, you got to qualify your information source is what I discovered. So like you said, just reiterating that. But honestly, there's so many people now becoming like, they just see the light when they see the changes, like even mental health. The MCT oil goes straight to the brain and the liver. So yeah, that's good for cognitive issues that we have. There's so many different little bits and pieces. See, I don't like to always tell all the science stuff because I don't know it. I'm not qualified to know it. And so like, just get that book, get this oil, or try some MCT oil, and let's get this going and change everybody's life in this community. It's like I'm advocating for you all the time. Honestly, I am. But we have to help ourselves feel better. And once you start to feel this stuff, even mentally, it changes you. Like, I am a different person these days. Like, I find my joy. I'm mentally better, healthier. My doctors see it. Dr. Harper really seen it. So I can't say enough for, if you want to change your life, what goes into your mouth is really going to make this difference. And it doesn't take more than a few weeks to actually, like, within a few weeks, your blood pressure is probably going to drop, and you got to watch that and you're not passing out, because physical changes happen within weeks of being fully fledged into this, right? It takes a few weeks for him to take you in, but once you're in ketosis, things really do change at the cellular level. And some of these talks that I'm talking about, like with Keto Camp, he's just recently had a talk that I was listening to today. Honest to God, if you want to prevent and help in the cancer department, this is a way to do it. This is a way to retain what you got left of your health. And it actually reverses type 2 diabetes. His diet's scientifically formulated so that you get all the nutrients you need. Like, it's just sitting there on a silver platter. So until people see the book and read the book, they don't really know what's in it because I'm not a doctor. I can only show what it's done for me, but the actual details are in this little book, right?
To back up a point Kim made a few minutes ago there, vet your sources. Even Kim
Yes.
and I, just because it's coming out of my mouth with a nice tone and a big smile doesn't mean you need to validate these things for yourself. And same reason that you go to a different hairdresser when you don't like the haircut, or you try a different massage therapist when it's not your route. This is keto is a bigger topic, but there's lots of ways and people out there guiding how to do this. I think the best way to be successful is to buddy up with groups like Kim is offering, and get the support for those days when you do feel like abandoning it and going for that sourdough and butter. So, understanding the information is part of it, but understand you're not going to know it all overnight. And sometimes just having that infrastructure of positive support, helping drive you forward, people that you can ask questions to that have been there, like Kim, is a really good way to just manage and bite this off into smaller, more digestible pieces, if that makes sense. So I do have a few other little comments here, Kim. I just want to call attention to Fran.
Okay.
Her mom had dementia. Fran, I'm curious if you were using the oil on her and if she noticed an improvement. We talk specifically to the fat disorders community here, but I do have other groups and all kinds of people that I interact with on the machines, and I do see some of these products and the nutritional piece. It's not just a fat disorders thing. It's a cerebral palsy thing. It's a diabetes thing. It's a stroke thing. 9 times out of 10, the reason your body is having problems is because of nutrition and environmental factors. So, disease does not grow and harbor in a healthy environment. It grows in acidic, poorly nourished systems. Your body needs to be more alkaline, and a lot of the foods that you eat of proper origin naturally balance those pH levels throughout your body. When your body's pH is out of whack and you're more acidic, that's where cancer and some of these conditions, and especially inflammation, manifest. Yeah. So it's not just a Dercum's disease. It's not just a lipedema thing. Maybe those are the reasons many of us have these conditions. The one thing I will say is there's no food care system. Nobody's teaching our kids in school. Nobody, most of us have not been taught properly how to eat. And as I say, that a lot of that is the convenience of the world we live in. But I always say to my kids, and many people have said to me, if you are shopping at the store and it's not coming out of your own garden or your own deep freeze, stick to the outside aisles. You tend to notice
it's real.
You don't need to buy a book. You don't need, but just some common sense, being aware of your surroundings. And the reason the stuff in the middle is in the middle is it doesn't require refrigeration. It's usually in a plastic wrapper or a box.
It's processed and it's full of chemicals.
So this whole logic of fortifying, adding, chemical toxic nutrients that you've stripped out of the food that might have been there in the first place. This is we need to change how we think, this, it's not about doing something new and crazy because it worked for Kim. It's actually getting back to the way it's supposed to be. It's
yes.
Food and diet and restaurants have become so commercialized. We have a joke here in town. We're in a small town, but there's always 5 or 6 pizza joints. And when we do have friends, what's the best place to go to for, I don't know, let's say chicken cordon bleu. It doesn't matter. They're all Cisco, just a different plate, right? They're all coming out of the same big rig. There's just a different side depending on. Nobody cooks anymore. So if you do have a local restaurant,
I do.
You know what I mean? So, for many of you that do eat out, better choices there too, if you can afford to eat out. And that's, you get what you pay for. And like I say, whether you're paying those fees in the beginning of your life and investing in good food and good resources like Kim's presented today, or you're paying on the back end through medical costs, escalating self-care costs, it will creep up with you over time. So I want to see, Fran has also made another comment here. Yes, it helped my mom. Just be careful titrating it. I have gestational diabetes when pregnant, and it was on the diabetic diet. So that's another, it's not just, I know Fran's got lipedema, confirmed, I think so. Sorry that I'm forgetting Fran. But so many of you are also dealing with other conditions. You know what I mean? So it's not, I wish, I don't wish any of this upon you, but I wish it was just one condition. And part of the food piece might be a little, Kim's got a fibromyalgia on top of all this too. So, I encourage you again.
Mast cell, HEDS, like I got a bucket load, people. So I was in a bad place.
Drop the labels and start honing in on the symptoms. What are the signs that your body's telling you? So you can have inflammation, you can have swelling, you can have fatigue. Start treating the symptoms and worrying less about the labels, and you'll get to the better information sooner, in my opinion. So comorbidities suck. And wait a minute, anyone with hypoglycemia due to adrenal insufficiency, find a way to do keto without more steroids? Boom. I'm going to leave that to
doctor question. Sorry.
Doctor question. Okay. Perhaps doctor question or other groups, perhaps. I'm sure, Holly, that within our group of 7,000 people, someone
has it.
What I would suggest, if you're willing and patient, after the live, and I get this recording up, usually takes me about a day by the time Facebook agrees with me. But feel free to post that question. Many more people will watch this in a recorded version.
Oh, yeah.
And go to Kim's page on YouTube. And this is what I'm talking about. A lot of times we have the answers within our collective groups. But sometimes we're not asking the right questions, or we don't know what the questions are. So that would be a really good one. I would encourage you, if you don't mind, posting afterwards and see what kind of a response we'd get. I'm curious on that one. And yeah, like I say, many of you are dealing with comorbidities, but we all know we need to be paying more close attention to what is going into the mouth.
Yep.
The shining example of this, I wish I had the benefit in my brain of just meeting her today and just having met her again for the first time 4 years ago. She's another example. You've heard me preach about weight loss is possible in this community.
Yes, it is.
Fat, that is just as much the food and the activity as anything else. So it's not like you have to do something special. You're going to notice a lot of the symptoms that I'm referring to because you're making changes that are so impactful on the bigger picture. The weight, the pain, the mobility, a lot of these things are going to improve regardless of whether your activity levels or not. What I really noticed with Kim early on is it just made the activity piece more possible.
It made it possible
and work out when you feel like crap.
Yes.
So she went through and progressed to a position where she was able to perform not only some basic stuff to begin with, but she's really evolved in her strength, which has built, of course, the gateway for, you can't start where you are today. It's a process. And by giving your body, from my perspective, the activity side and the therapeutic side, the food piece, accelerates the benefits on my end of the spectrum too.
Now, the one thing he talked about, Dr. Harper was on this talk again, it's on Keto Camp, Keto and then Camp spelled with a K. Today, I looked at a recording and he talks about the BioDiet, like the diet, ketogenic. Yes, like you don't have to exercise if you want. Most of the stuff happens through the diet, people. It's not about the exercise. So that's another myth. But he talks about the benefit of exercising though. Once you're capable of exercise, like he told me to start walking after my meal at night, because I was like usually one meal a day and then I would go walking. He want me to go build in my activity after eating, so it triggered my fat burning whatevers instead of my fat gaining by sitting in the chair after dinner, how I was doing it. So I just go for a walk after I eat if possible, or I do like hours on the beach before I have a dinner. So I just saunter around. I can't barely walk. I'm not a fast walker. I have SI joint dysfunction, so that doesn't happen for me. But I'm better. I'm stronger.
It should be light moderate activity.
Very light, moderate.
Especially for those, I want to take the opportunity to add here, because I did a session on IBS a couple of weeks ago. For those that are dealing with gut health issues, again, this is what works for Kim. I know, because I got into a conversation last week. For those of you that are dealing with IBS or other concerns, some of you have been advised to be inactive after your meals. You don't want to deplete the oxygen and the energy from that digestion process. But this is what works for Kim. And like I say, keep in mind, she had been investing time and realized many changes on the food piece before she jumped into the activity.
Oh,
Don't
yes.
do everything all at once.
Exercise did not
One
come
thing at a
very
time.
quick.
Thank you.
And you know, like the other thing is like everybody's going to be different. Every little bit of thing, like just follow your own path, but one foot in front of the other, baby steps. But like if anybody ever wants to like get that book and read it, I'm here for you. But I, you know, again, I know that it works for not just people with fat disorders. It's all over the world now. Like it's just pretty incredible, this ketogenic change. But the science came with it this time. It's not a fad diet, and it is not going away. More and more medical professionals, even like the American Diabetes Association, the American Heart Association, go to their website, check it out. Keto's there now. It's changing because they brought the science. And that's what it's about. Like, I don't want to hear anybody tell me that my meat is bad for me. Because now I know. Look what it did. I can move.
Is power. Empower yourselves. Make the decision, make informed decisions.
Yes.
The good side of the world that we live in nowadays is information is readily available however you learn. And, learning is a lifelong journey, and this is just, learning more about what works best for you. Food happens to be, in Kim and my opinion, and many researchers.
It's my medicine now. It truly is my medicine. And because as a person with a fat disorder and Dercum's, I can't take chemical prescriptions. So I can't even say, I can't say that anything's fixed my situation any better than my diet has, because I can't take your medications that everybody takes for pain. I've had to reduce it in another way. And thank God I found a way.
Yeah. And many of us don't even take, you just get your prescription, you take it, and you don't even realize what else you might be ingesting and how it affects. And, sometimes, I was watching an article this morning, or watching a video this morning about pesticides, and you can have two completely different pesticides that have no effect on you whatsoever. But if they're combined, there can be a completely different reaction inside your system as to, how it's affecting you. So, I know we can't know everything about everything, but, this is going to give you inner strength. Like, I can't even explain. Once you kind of understand the relationship between food and your body, you're going to feel a lot more in control of your health going forward. And you're going to understand, certainly as Kim said, activity is an important part of her life now. But for those of you that are struggling and really have a desire to get back to that, sometimes we jump on the activity bandwagon, and although we do have short-term benefit, you're going to crash because you're not giving your body the building blocks to build those long-term goals like strength, weight loss, bone density. You need the nutritional support for those, especially those long-term goals. So I've rambled an hour.
That's
not a big deal. And again, I just want to remind Hope, if you don't mind, later on, once we get the recording up, likely by tomorrow, to post that one about the hypoglycemia. I'd be really curious to get some feedback on that. Kim and I, a lot of the conversation and all the links that I dropped for Kim's information while we were talking today will disappear as soon as we end here, but I will pre-populate those back in the video once we get it uploaded. We upload these videos first to Kim's YouTube channel, so that's the first place that you'll be able to find it. She'll share it within her networks, but if you want to follow Kim, the best single place to do that is?
You can follow me in 3 places. Now, my favorite place to be lately is TikTok. So it's under @FatDisordersCanada is the name I go under there. On my website is fatdisorderscanada.com. And then on my YouTube channel, where this is going to be under Dercum's Diaries, is named like my old Facebook group. I used to have a Facebook Facebook group, but I've taken away from that. It's not doing very good for advocacy purposes. So you can go to Dercum's Disease and Other Fat Disorders Canada. That's where my YouTube channel is, and that's where this video is going to be.
I would say, depending on what type of social platforms you use, if you go to Kim's website, fatdisorderscanada.com, you should be able to find links to her TikTok, her YouTube, and everything else through there. And follow her there, because you never know where she might be tomorrow. Okay, like here. So, and of course, we do this every month. So for those of you that are joining us a little bit later, this is episode 4. Very much up to now, we've been talking about self-care, specific self-care, a little bit of information about Dercum's itself. Kim and I post these on both of our YouTube channels to give you the ability to share with others. Not everyone is a member of my group where Kim hosts these sessions. And as much as we'd like to share the information with everyone, my group is not public, so we put them on those public platforms but if you do ever have someone that wants to join, or someone you know medically you want to invite, this is a Zoom link. So if you contact Kim or I prior to the live, we can give you the physical Zoom link. I just don't want to put it up for the general world to join and have everyone here in their bikinis wondering how we tone cellulite. This is a little bit more specific to Kim. And it is a Lipedema Awareness Month. And
yes, it is.
In the fat disorders community, that being the more recognized condition, even though nobody knows about that condition in comparison to things like lymphedema. You know, there's this totem pole of pecking order to a degree. And unfortunately, Dercum's is a little bit less known. I am convinced in my mind that it is absolutely not less common. But it doesn't have the investment in research and the support as far as the advocacy does that lipedema does. So please share this far and wide. Many of our members deal with both lipedema and Dercum's and a whole list of other things. And keep seeking information, keep learning.
Yes.
You know, and you know, when you do feel defeated or down, the reason Kim and I like to do these, you know, I'm like her, I'm kind of like the Energizer Bunny, you know, let us lend you some strength and some energy and some motivation. You know, there's times when we needed it in the past, and good folks like you were there to support us. This is not a race. This is not a competition. You know, we all have good days and bad, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever you may be dealing with. Never hesitate to reach out. And if you have ideas or session things you want us to kind of specifically talk about and expand, reach out to Kim or I. We do want to start putting some of you on the hot seat and have discuss and create some. The big reason Kim and I wanted to start doing this, and my group started as well, is the advocacy piece. You know, I want you guys to take advantage of the following that Kim and I have. Not everyone wants to run a group and print a t-shirt, but you know, collectively we are much louder. Let's make some noise. Let's share this. Kim's got a few other
tell our stories.
You know, that's all that we can do. And I think sometimes through experience, others identify, and it's becoming more and more common, certainly in my group. It wasn't that way when I started, but I find more and more people are realizing not only about these conditions, but realizing what they personally may be dealing with for the first time in their lives, instead of being discounted and dismissed. You know, we welcome you. So thank you for being here. Thank you again, Kim, for sharing your goodies today. This is probably one I would like to talk about again. And perhaps, you know, we can have a BioDiet session where we have someone else that, and the MCT oil, other people that are using these, and maybe have a separate session specific to those down the road, because I think we are going to have some more questions about this. We do not have a topic for next month, but we will surprise you very shortly and let you know what we're going to be doing for July.
I have an idea.
Okay, let's keep it secret for now.
I will.
All right.
Thank you, Debbie, for doing this for education and awareness. And
My pleasure.
thank you for being my friend.
You as well. Thank you, Fran. Thank you, Joy. Some others have come and gone because I've probably rambled.
And thank you, everybody, for being here again.
Yes, and we'll get this up. Like I say, give us till tomorrow to get a recorded version out. Again, you can follow Kim and find all of her social channels on fatdisorderscanada.com. and her lives here with me and any other events that she may be taking part in can also be found there. So subscribe to her, and you'll never miss an event. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I look forward to talking to you guys again real soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.